Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
Have you ever walked out to your garden on a beautiful summer morning, ready to check on your cucumber plants, only to find a strange white powder creeping across the leaves, and you have absolutely no idea where it came from or what to do next? If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone, and you are in exactly the right place. Welcome back to The Smart Gardener, the channel where we help everyday gardeners grow smarter, not harder. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a tip. Today, I am going to show you a simple 2-ingredient solution you can mix right in your own kitchen that helps fight powdery mildew before it takes over your entire harvest, plus a few prevention secrets that most gardeners never talk about. Before we mix anything, I want you to understand exactly what you are dealing with, because knowing your enemy is the first step to beating it. That white powdery coating on your cucumber leaves is caused by a fungus called Podosphaera xanthii. And what makes it so tricky is that unlike most fungi, it does not need wet leaves to spread. All it needs is warm temperatures between 68 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit and humid air around the plant, which is basically a perfect description of a typical American summer garden. A single infected leaf can release thousands of invisible spores into the air, and those spores drift on the slightest breeze right onto your healthy leaves nearby. Even your garden tools, if not cleaned between uses, can carry spores from one plant to another without you ever realizing it. If you ignore it and do nothing, the leaves start turning yellow. The plant becomes weak, your cucumbers ripen too early and come out smaller than they should, and your harvest takes a serious hit. And here is something even more frustrating. Those spores can survive the winter inside old dead leaves left in your garden bed, which means next spring, the whole cycle starts all over again. So how do you catch it early enough to stop it? The very first sign is not the white powder at all. It actually starts as pale yellow spots on the leaves, especially on the older lower leaves closest to the ground. By the time you see white, the fungus is already well established. That is why catching those yellow spots early makes all the difference. And that is exactly why what I am about to show you works so well when used at the right time. Now that you know what you are up against, let me show you exactly how to fight back using just 2 simple ingredients that are probably already sitting in your kitchen right now. The 2 main ingredients for this spray are baking soda and ground cinnamon. And I want to take a moment to explain why these 2 work so well together. Because understanding the science behind it will make you a much more confident gardener. Starting with baking soda. The technical name is sodium bicarbonate, and what it does is raise the pH level right on the surface of the leaf. Powdery mildew fungus needs a specific environment to survive and multiply, and when baking soda shifts that pH balance, it makes the leaf surface essentially inhospitable for the fungus to take hold. This is not just a folk remedy either. It is a method that has been studied and recognized by organic farming researchers as a safe, environmentally friendly option. However, and this is really important, more is not better here. You should never use more than 1 tablespoon of baking soda per 1 gallon of water. If you go higher than that, the sodium starts building up in your soil over time, and that can actually cause leaf burn and stress your plants rather than protect them. So stick to that ratio and trust the process. Now let me tell you about the cinnamon, because this one genuinely surprises people. Ground cinnamon contains a naturally occurring compound called cinnamaldehyde, which is the same thing that gives cinnamon its distinctive warm aroma. What cinnamaldehyde does at a biological level is actually disrupt the cell membranes of fungal organisms, which slows their growth and limits how far they can spread across your plant. Scientific research has confirmed that cinnamon extract shows real antifungal activity against multiple types of plant pathogens, making it a legitimate partner for baking soda in this spray. So here is exactly how you make it. Start by pouring 1 gallon of warm water into a clean garden sprayer, or a large container. Warm water helps everything dissolve and blend together more effectively than cold water would. Next, add 1 tablespoon of baking soda and stir it in well. Then add 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon and stir again. Let the mixture sit for about 2 hours so the ingredients have time to fully combine and activate. After that, strain the liquid carefully through a fine cloth or coffee filter to remove any cinnamon sediment that could clog your spray nozzle. Finally, add just 2 to 3 drops of plain unscented dish soap. The soap acts as a surfactant, which simply means it helps the solution spread evenly and stick to the leaf surface instead of just rolling off. As a bonus, this mixture may also help deter aphids and other small insects that tend to attack plants that are already weakened by disease. Now that your spray is ready, the way you apply it matters just as much as what is in it. And this is where a lot of gardeners make mistakes that reduce how well the treatment actually works. So let me walk you through the right way to do it. First, timing is everything. Always spray either in the early morning or in the late evening when the sun is low and temperatures are cooler. Never spray in the middle of the day when the sun is strong, because the heat combined with the solution on the leaves can cause scorching and actually damage the very plants you are trying to protect. Also, avoid spraying on windy days, because your coverage will be uneven and a lot of the spray will simply drift away before it reaches the leaves. Before you even pick up your sprayer, take a few minutes to prune off any leaves that are already heavily infected. I know it feels hard to remove parts of your plant, but those infected leaves are essentially spore factories, releasing thousands of new spores into the air every single day. Cut them off cleanly at the stem, seal them immediately in a plastic bag, and throw them in the trash. Do not put them in your compost pile, because powdery mildew spores can survive in compost and reinfect your garden the following season. Once you have removed the worst leaves, it is time to spray. Cover both the top and the underside of every leaf thoroughly. The underside is especially important because that is where fungal spores love to hide, and where early infections often go unnoticed. Spray the infected leaves and the healthy leaves around them as well, because preventing the spread to surrounding foliage is just as important as treating what is already affected. When it comes to how often you should apply this spray, here is the schedule that works best. If you are using it as a preventive measure before any signs of disease appear, reapply every 7 to 14 days throughout the growing season. If you are actively treating an existing infection, increase the frequency to every 5 to 7 days until you see real improvement. And whenever it rains, reapply as soon as the leaves are dry again, because rainwater will wash the solution right off the leaves. One important caution: do not spray more than once per week during active treatment, because excessive sodium buildup from the baking soda can start to affect your soil health over time. Finally, after handling any diseased plant material, wipe down your pruning tools with 70% isopropyl alcohol before touching any healthy plants. It takes just a few seconds, and it can prevent you from accidentally spreading spores from one plant to the next. Treating powdery mildew after it appears is important, but what separates a good gardener from a great one is knowing how to stop it from ever getting started in the first place. So let me share a few simple habits that make a bigger difference than most people realize. The first thing to think about is how you plant your cucumbers. Give each plant enough room to breathe by spacing them 12 to 18 inches apart within the row, with about 5 to 6 feet between rows. When plants are crowded too close together, air gets trapped between the leaves, humidity builds up, and you are essentially creating the perfect environment for powdery mildew to move in and take over. Whenever you can, train your cucumber vines to grow vertically on a trellis rather than letting them sprawl along the ground. Growing upright opens up the canopy, allows sunlight to reach more of the plant, and lets air move freely through the vines. Sunlight is actually a natural enemy of powdery mildew spores, so the more light that gets through your plants, the better your natural defenses become. Watering habits also play a bigger role than most gardeners expect. Always water at the base of the plant, never from overhead. And water in the morning so that any moisture on the leaves or soil surface has time to evaporate fully before the cooler evening hours arrive. If you have access to a drip irrigation system, that is absolutely the best option for keeping your foliage dry while still giving the roots all the water they need. One more thing that often gets overlooked is fertilizing. Avoid applying too much nitrogen to your cucumber plants. Excess nitrogen pushes the plant to produce a lot of soft, lush new growth very quickly. And that tender young foliage is exactly what powdery mildew loves to attack first. So to bring everything together, you now have a complete system for protecting your cucumber plants from powdery mildew. You know how to recognize the early signs before the white powder ever appears. You know how to mix a 2-ingredient natural spray right from your kitchen using baking soda and ground cinnamon. You know when and how to apply it properly for the best results. And you know the everyday growing habits that make your garden far less vulnerable in the first place. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you tried a homemade spray like this before? And how did it work out for your garden? Share your experience, because your story might be exactly what another gardener here needs to hear. If you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you are subscribed to The Smart Gardener so you catch our next video. There is a lot more coming that I think you are really going to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.